everyone, and welcome to the SomaCast. We are trying. Rob, explain it.
Damn it!
Part of the host powers is I can push my responsibility on others.
Your hosting powers are weak.
Explain it as like the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah.
Right, so just like the Avengers Initiative, this is where 4 friends get together, bringing 4 separate topics to discuss. So not very much like the Avengers Initiative.
There was 4
But
Avengers.
I am joined by
Not
the
like it.
lovely Zombie from Zombie Gaming, the equally lovely Kirby from Kirby's Misfits,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Fuck it.
Some Canadian.
And the other one.
Yeah.
Fuck it, Kyle.
Cryptlight from Cryptlight Production.
Yeah.
So guys, how has everybody been? Oh, and we've also got a small ginger dog.
Yeah, small ginger dog. And Kirby's feet.
Go Gingers! Yes. And Kirby's feet. Oh wait, you can't see him right now.
Damn it!
God damn it,
There goes
Zombie.
the clickbait.
That was like 2 extra guests. That was my entire topic.
I prepared nothing. I was just going to talk about feet.
Yeah, we were just gonna have a close up of the feet, and then maybe some ASMR.
Yeah.
And maybe discuss the plural of compass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The plural of any word that ends in 2 S's.
Such as compass and anus.
Yeah. Everyone knows anus is spelled A-N-U-S-S.
It is! In England, it's our language.
Alright, so who shall we start with? Or should I get my dice bag?
Oh, I think we need to start with the dice.
Well, we could start with the dice, apart from there's 2 of us that haven't prepared a topic yet. So why don't we do the, the flat D2?
I do have a coin.
Oh, perfect.
It's a Pokemon one. Alright, so,
I know my
someone
Pokemon.
call Litten or Boring.
Oh, it's not a cat face. In the cat.
Well, it just flew out into the distance.
There we go. and so ended the podcast.
I have more coins.
Thank you all for joining.
I have $8 in quarters.
Okay,
Specific.
best
What is that for?
6 out of 8.
What that's for is I work at a restaurant and tip out is light. So, Kirby and Zombie, heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails? It is heads. Zombie, what are you talking about?
There we go. All right. Well, so my topic today I want to talk about is early access games and kind of what kind of impact they have in the game development world. Because recently I was playing Star Citizen, and this guy kept saying in the chat, "This game's been out for like 6 years, man. Why isn't it finished? It should be done by now. Why haven't they added this, all this?" And I was trying to explain to him, like, how game development works. But, in any game chat, they're not very reasonable. So it didn't go too well.
Shock horror.
So I just want to talk about just how long game development takes and how what early access does and the pros and cons of it, and kind of discuss that between you guys.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, we've all played, I'm sure, early access games at this point. I know we've played Rust and everything before that came out and all that. So I wanted to discuss, like, how long do you guys think it is reasonable for a game to be in early access, and how long, like, it should be till it releases and stuff like that? Like, what's, like, your general window of time?
I think it mostly depends on like what kind of game we're talking about. I mean, if we're talking a game like Star Citizen, that's gonna be a whole lot more process than just say maybe Fortnite or a 2D platformer game.
Yeah, because for people who don't know, Star Citizen is like one of the most ridiculously ambitious games ever. It's got everything in it. You've got spaceships, exploration, you can land on planets, you can do first-person combat, and like it's an MMO. It's like basically everything you could want from any game all rolled into one.
So what No Man's Sky should have been.
Pretty much, yeah.
What they promised us.
Yeah, what they promised. What they promised but allegedly didn't promise, apart from the videos where it's very explicit that they promised. Yeah, so I mean, like something like that. And I mean, the thing with Star Citizen as well is that, I mean, you can do 90% of those things at the moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you
Right.
back the game, because am I right in saying that only backers can get into it still, or is there?
Yes.
Can you now like get into it even if you didn't back it?
Well, you don't need to back it now. You can just pay the $42, I think it is.
All right,
and
cool.
you can
So
get
it's
into it
like
right now.
so it's pretty much like the same as a Steam early access.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, I mean, you can play 90% of the game. It's just not all neatly tied in. Like they've said it's going to be on like full release.
Right. Like they've got different modes. They've got a travel the universe type mode. They got arena shooter mode, and they've got just a basic play with your ship mode.
Yeah.
So, a big thing I wanted to say about it was Star Citizen, like what they're trying to accomplish is they're trying to get a very open world without any load screens, and that was something they've pushed for the longest time. Is you can go from planet to space to space station to planet without ever hitting a load screen intermittently between them.
Oh.
And that is it's a huge thing because look what 15 years back at like Resident Evil games. How many loading screens do you have switching between every little
all of
room
them
that you're in?
Exactly, and I mean, there's still some like AAA single player games where you get like a good 5-10 second loading screen just like going inside or outside of a building. So
yeah,
I mean, something where it's so something where it's like an MMO where it's going to have like hundreds or whatever players that they intend to have, and still have that seamless transaction. It's going to be like awesome when they finally get it all nailed down. But it's something like that. It's not going to take 5 minutes.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they've done really well to get to the point where each of the individual segments are fully playable now. It's just the case of getting it all tied together where it's going to be a seamless thing. They're probably still figuring out whether it's going to be like instanced or if it's going to be like a true MMO thing. It just depends. I mean, the main thing that's probably holding them back at the moment will be hardware. Something like that server side is going to be like huge.
Mm-hmm.
It is very hardware intensive game already.
Yeah.
It is. But hopefully optimization will fix that.
Yeah, I mean, you were playing it the other day, and you were crashing probably 3 or 4 times before you could actually get to where you wanted to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, it was on patch release day though. They just added ArcCorp, which is the huge city on this planet. Like the entire planet is a city, and you can't go to all of it right now. But you land in a specific section, and then you just go explore the city and stuff like that. So they just released that again. They had it before, but they took it out because it was pretty glitchy and stuff like that. So when it released, everyone was like, "Hey, let's go play!" So servers were crashing.
Bang, bang, bang.
So pulled up Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I admittedly I've never played Star Citizen, but I play a lot of MMOs. Terra is one that I've gotten into recently, and they tried to do that, the whole like seamless transition. Of course, there's still a lot of loading screens between like town to wilderness, etc. But one of the things they tend to do is they drop the quality of some things in the distance. So like a tree in the distance will go down to just a stick and then a texture. And as you get within a certain distance, it'll like fully render. It kind of looks a little jumpy at times, but overall it works. And like just that alone, I imagine, as far as development goes, would take a good year or two for a big open world.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that. And like, I want to bring up another early access game. Let's talk about like games like DayZ. So,
Yeah.
like I'm trying to give like both good and bad examples of it. And DayZ is a mod that came out in, I believe it was like 2009. Just the Arma 2 mod. Yeah, it came out quite a bit ago. And then they tried to go standalone. And they had all this support, all this backing on it. Everyone bought the standalone game. And then mid-development, they're like, you know what? We're gonna change engines for a minute. So 3 years later, they just got their new engine, and we haven't had an update in for like forever on that. And it comes down to like the pros and cons of what I think early access games can be. Like it can be really great for a lot of games in getting them funding, helping players add to the community and add to the game and bring something that developers might not have thought of or that they might need to fix. Stuff like that. But then the cons are they can like take your money and be like, haha, okay, we're done. You bought the game. We don't have to give you anything now. And also, I think a big thing for me is getting burnt out of a game before it actually releases. Because I had that with PUBG. I played it a ton early access, and then when it released, it was just kind of iffy at the moment, and I haven't played it since.
But isn't like that the perfect example of like what's going on with like the gaming industry right now? Is like so many games are opting for this early access, like Fortnite, PUBG. Both of those were huge games that probably could have gone full release, and yet they didn't. And I'm not sure why they did, especially Fortnite. Is it still in early access? I want to say it's still technically. It's still technically an early access game, but what else are they going to add to it to make it, a full game? The whole point of Fortnite is that they just keep on upgrading and adding new things, and you can do that as a regular game, but they're just letting us as early access.
Mm-hmm.
So
it kind of just wears.
Maybe early access gives them more scope to like steal other people's ideas and put it into their game, which seems to be what they do. It's like whenever a new MMO comes out, they go, "Oh, that's a good idea." Boop, it's in the next update.
Yeah. But that does kind of draw like an interesting line between like where does alpha begin and early access end, because Minecraft's kind of be doing that too, where they release the full game and now they've just got different versions every few months. Yeah. So just what's the difference between Minecraft doing that and then Fortnite doing that, but still saying they're early access?
Yeah, I think it's just I think the problem is that like pretty much, I want to say probably like 60% of the games that come out on Steam at the moment are classed as early access. Right. And I think just people have been burnt a lot, especially with the earlier ones. I mean, Rust's a prime example. Rust I absolutely love. But I think it was in early access for about 7 years.
Yeah. Wow.
I think it pretty much came out of early access like maybe last year, was it?
Yeah, I believe so. December.
And before that, it was like classed as alpha for a lot. It was like pretty much the last 12 months of dev cycle. It went from alpha to beta to boop, we're out. And I can't really remember a lot changing in like the last 3 years, probably. They've updated like certain things. There's been like slight changes, slight tweaks, but probably for 3 years that could have been a released game. Mm-hmm. But then, on the other hand, you have something like Ark, which it gave you the benefit of, you were an early adopter, and I'm going to get attacked by a dog. Hello, Dave. So you had the benefit of being an early adopter because you got, I think it was like £20 or something, so probably about $25. And then as soon as it came out of early access, it's like, we're now a $60 game because we're full release.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing changed, but you're paying more.
Yeah.
But it's classed now as a finished game, so we can charge more for it.
But I think something that we need to understand, and Zombie, you can talk more about this, is, walk us through the development process of whatever one goes through. I mean, obviously we all know about alpha, we know about the beta, and obviously the finished product, early access. So, I mean, what all goes into this, development cycle?
Well, I mean, I don't know everything about what goes into it, but I know most games start out with a working prototype. And that is one thing I think Star Citizen did really well. They got to a point where the game worked. It was an idea, it was a concept, and they could show off little things on how it was going to look. Then at that point, I can't remember, let me see, I think I wrote it down. Yeah, they started development in 2011 for Star Citizen, and they were like, here's our base concept. What do you guys think? This is what we want to do. And they let the community build onto the prototype, and everything that they put into it goes into the updates and stuff like that, and they are constantly taking what the community wants and will put it into the game, and that has helped stage go from prototype to alpha and then beta and then full release. Those are the typical cycles, I would say. And a lot of games will just say, there's some games that will do this where they'll say we're in alpha, but it's just a way for you to get into the game, start playing it.
Yeah, it's like a pre-order benefit, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, was it Battlefield 5 that did that? It was like a early access type thing. And
yeah, I think Destiny did it as well. Destiny had, and Anthem is the newest one.
Yes.
They had
I did do this.
an alpha which was basically exactly the same as the beta. It was just on a smaller scale. I mean, usually an alpha is you're still expecting to see lots of bugs and things that'll break the game. Usually, I mean, because before I started doing YouTube and Twitch and things like that, I used to do a lot of alpha testing, which was like companies would send this other company that I was like doing like side work with. They would actually send specific code, and we were under NDA, so we couldn't discuss it. But a lot of the time when you were playing in an alpha, it had missing textures, so it would just have like, sometimes it would just be T-posed sprites and things like that you were fighting against, and that was a true alpha. That was to see what mechanics work, and that was about it. And then usually when you move to a beta, it's got everything tied down, but it's more to see how stable the code is, or if it's multiplayer, how stable the servers are, what sort of stress levels they're going to be under. But nowadays, it's a glorified demo, and it's only there to get you to pre-order the game.
Right.
And usually I pre-order it, again, the alpha or the beta, and then I cancel my pre-order.
This was fun. Good weekend.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I decide if I want to buy it afterwards. But yeah, I think it's changed a lot, and it's just the nature of the beast. Because the cost of making games is gone through the roof. It costs so much now; it's ridiculous.
Graphics alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the companies like they're less likely to take a risk on a new IP or something, and the easiest way they can do that is to put something out which isn't content finished, so it'll have things that are missing, but still charge you for it, because then they can see who the hell wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get enough people buying it, gives them more of an incentive to finish it, then they're going to carry on down the roadmap. And I think that's basically what early access is turning into now, because it feels very rare that you get a game that actually follows through on an early access cycle. I think one of the last ones that actually had like a full roadmap and they actually stuck to it was PUBG.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're going to be in early access 12 months. This is the roadmap. We're coming out of early access in, December 2 years ago or something, was it?
Yeah.
And they hit it. It wasn't perfect, but it was content finished, and it was like where they wanted the finished game to be, so you couldn't really argue.
Right.
You've paid your money, you've got what they said you were going to get.
Right.
Whereas some games, like you said, Dizzy, here, buy our game. This is what you're going to get. Actually, we've changed our mind. You're going to get something different now, but thanks for the cash. And yes, we're not finished this other thing that you're going to get now.
I think that's the perfect idea, though, of what early access has become. Is they don't have to keep up with their promises, because it's early access. Things are supposed to change, and things will change throughout development. So it's kind of a cop out and being like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. 6 months later, let's try this instead.
Yeah.
It's pretty much
we said you were getting
Kickstarter.
Yeah, pretty much. It's Kickstarter, where they can just get their hands on the money a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I mean, the gaming industry is just hurting because of it, and it's not really helping anyone. I mean, granted, some of these development cycles are really helping people. Anthem, not so much. But some of the people like PUBG, they were doing really well, and then unfortunately, this is the other thing. Their game was in early access for so long that Fortnite was able to come in and capitalize their market with a better finished product.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can argue they're two different things. They're two different games and whatever, but you can't really argue that Fortnite filled the hole that PUBG wasn't really taking advantage of.
Yeah. PUBG sort of started a craze with the whole Battle Royale game, and then Fortnite just jumped into it as the main one before PUBG really was fully released.
They capitalized on the opportunity.
Yeah. I think what Fortnite had on its side as well was it was a free game.
It was free.
Yeah.
That was the huge
So it's like,
thing about
what,
it.
you can't, you like what you see with PUBG, but you can't afford it? Yeah, we'll just give you it for free.
Yeah.
Well, and even the other thing is that with Fortnite, it was a lot smoother experience. There was less bugs overall in Fortnite in the beginning than PUBG even a year in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing to remember with Fortnite was it was released as a single. Well, no, not single player. It was a co-op game, 4-player co-op game.
Player.
And that must have been a good 12, maybe 12 months since before it went.
I think it released.
Yeah, before it went free to play battle royale.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd probably got a lot of the bugs already ironed out by having what equated to a soft release. It was a soft release where you had to pay for it, but then they changed the game into something else.
Yeah,
A little
yeah.
bit like H1Z1.
They had like a base product, and then they just added on to what they already had. PUBG
Yeah.
was starting from the ground up, and it was also a smaller development team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, Epic Games, they have their own engine. They know how to use their engine. That's
But
why
yeah.
updates come so fast, because it's their engine.
I mean,
They know
PUBG
it
even
that well.
gets like a little bit crippled by that at the moment in any case, because apparently with the way the license of the engine works for them is every time they do a patch, you have to download the entire game again. But with Fortnite, I think you just download a patch for the engine. So it's like smaller downloads, quicker downloads. They can do like quicker releases basically to update their game, which is why you see like little incremental things like here's the new Apex Legends regen truck or whatever their newest thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other thing is that PUBG also shot themselves in the foot with trying to go to consoles. They're trying to go cross-platform, and they really hadn't finished their product on PC yet.
Hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
release this, bare bones early access to Xbox, and it was shit.
Yeah, the Xbox launch was like a bit of a train wreck.
Did they
I mean-
outsource that?
Yeah, I don't know how much was outsourced. I'd need to check that, but I know the one thing that they did do is while they announced the Xbox version, it didn't come out until after the 1.0 patch went live on PC. So
Right.
in theory, they finished their roadmap for PC, which is what they promised. But in reality, there will have been 6 months of development into getting the Xbox version ready. So they probably took people off the PC version. And no doubt Microsoft will have thrown a lot of money at them to get like the exclusivity for 12 months, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it that long?
I think it was, because I'm pretty sure it moved to PS4 after they'd done the 1.0 patch for Xbox as well. So it's like each
Is
Time
PUBG
to
on
complete.
PS4?
It
yeah,
is, but it's recent.
yeah, I think
Recent-ish.
it was like just before Christmas, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I never saw anything good about, PUBG on console, so I just kind of ignored it after that. It was
Yeah.
shipped for so long on Xbox, and no one had anything but complaints about Xbox or PUBG on Xbox.
Yeah.
So,
I think one of the problems is that early access is still such a new thing on console.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a hard sell. Like you buy a game on console, you expect it to work, boom. When you download it, when you stick the disc in. But PUBG didn't. I think like they struggled to have like 25 frames per second, which in an FPS you want
More.
30 frames minimum locked in.
Yeah.
You want 30 frames, and they couldn't even hit 25, so that wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
And then I think they only managed to hit that once the next gen plus consoles came out, like Scorpio and whatever the PS. Was it PS Pro? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, Scorpio is going to be next gen, and then PS5 is going to be next gen for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Trust me, I've been looking a lot into next gen lately, so because I follow those consoles pretty well.
Oh yeah, I pretty much used to buy like as soon as any console was announced, that was it. I bought it.
I
I can't afford to anymore.
Yeah, no. I bought PS4 on launch, and for the first year, Kirby and I were talking about this earlier, there was like no games. Like you had like 5 games for the entire year, and it was like, all right, that's cool. And then finally we're getting to a point where we have all these games, and then they're like, PS5's coming out. I'm like, no.
I know that's always that's always the sucky thing about consoles is just when they're getting the software like perfect. The games are coming out, they're beautiful, they're getting the most out of the consoles. That's when they say,
Upgrade.
coming out soon.
Yep.
The next
one. And then you know you're going to have the struggle of like the games are going to dry up and things.
But honestly, one company has done a lot better with taking advantage of their software rather than one of the other companies. And
oh god, yeah.
we're not going to call out anyone Microsoft.
But you know who.
Yeah. You know who isn't really capitalizing on their consoles right now? Xbox.
That's very bad coffee up there.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna get some balls.
Allergy season.
Yeah.
Very explicit cough.
One of the best things I think that Sony did that was ahead of the game was the sharing thing, because that was before Twitch hit mainstream and things like that, and it's just that was ahead of the game.